The CX-50 is the most rugged in the lineup. How does it compare to other off-road competitors? What's up, everybody? I'm Jonathan Sewell Sales at Mitchell Mazda on the Boulevard in Enterprise, Alabama. And you see behind me the 2023 beautiful polymetal gray Turbo Meridian CX-50. And in this car vid, we're gonna break down why that is the better choice than the Toyota and the Subaru. We're gonna go inside, we're gonna go outside, and all the way around so that you can choose if this in fact is the right vehicle for you. So let's jump in. More car vids. Getting started up front, this is the beautiful polymetal gray with terracotta Turbo Meridian CX-50, and we've covered a similar vehicle minus or plus the Apex package, which is a platform and crossbars. The link to that video will be at the end of this one and down below in the description if you want to check out a more in-depth video. But this specifically, we want to talk about how the CX-50 is more unique than the Subaru Outback Wilderness and the Toyota RAV4 Adventure and TRD. Of course, to get started here, the CX-50 slots between, in 23 at least, slots between the CX-5 and the CX-9, and now the 24, no CX-9 but CX-90. This one, of course, was designed to be unique to the rest of the crossovers that Mazda has and to be more rugged. This Turbo Meridian is definitely their off-road package. So you can see a few things that are carried over on every CX-50. Up front, this big signature wing is gloss black. It's also wider than every other signature wing on every other Mazda. Also have gloss black mirror caps, and unique to the Meridian, the matte black vinyl up here, which of course is a beautiful style, and we've got some dust on it as well, but it does say CX-50 Meridian Edition. But also, as the sun beams down, it does not reflect back into your eyes as you're driving down the road or any terrain specifically. Also, this wing is wider, and this whole vehicle is wider than the CX-5, which is the closest crossover, and they are in fact in the same segment. You also have these unique styled lights, which are kind of your C cups here, twisted a little bit. And then the ground clearance is higher. We'll talk about that more in just a minute, but you have your radar feature down here, which instead of being in that clear protectant plastic cover on every other Mazda, this one's designed to get dirty. So I'm sure you can appreciate that. So you'll have safety functionality. The biggest eye attractor, and I've got it dirty in an amp bed, it looks like, is this 18-inch wheel with these Falcon Wild Peak tires, ATs. And you can see the unique design with the gloss black paint and the machined look, but thick rubber, thick tread, which is for this off-road model, is very nice. And the polymetal gray is one of two exteriors available, with the zircon sand, which is kind of a dark tan, and of course the terracotta interior was designed to bring the outside in, or the Alabama red clay in. So you have these stitch patterns around, as well as tied into the seats. And this is very soft leather, only available on the turbo models, but of course this one is the only interior on your Meridian. So very nice, very beautiful, and we'll look a little bit more on that as we come around as well. As you go to the back, just to talk about for a brief moment the differences between this and the CX-5, the first thing that you'll notice is just how kind of more flat or squared that is instead of round like the CX-5. This one also, as the wheels are pushed out, you have a 90-degree area here for more cargo or coolers or things to fit in. And you also have about 6 inches longer this way than the CX-5. This one also has your cover here, which is convenient for everything except for stacking your cargo or other items high when the seats are folded down. But you do have this fold down, or this lever here, to flip this down, and so you can see there that you have more availability. And the fact that it's a 60-40 split does give you the option for cargo and passengers, but also a more smooth design than having that middle area like on the CX-5. Now, I know you may be wondering, Jonathan, we're talking about how this is better than the Subaru Outback and the RAV4, Toyota RAV4. Well, let's talk about some of those features. Number one, the first thing that we'll notice is that this one, specifically the Turbo Meridian, does have an 8.6 inch ground clearance, which is the exact same as the RAV4 and the RAV4 Adventure and the TRD. So you're not slacking on anything as far as ground clearance. Difference between the Wilderness has a little bit more ground clearance, so it's 9.5 inches. But this vehicle is wider than both of those vehicles, so about 75 inches wider, which gives it a better track and better stability as you're going up and down. Also, the fact that this is designed for more recreation and functionality, you have standard roof rails, and this height is 2 or 3 inches lower than both the RAV4 and the Outback, which means that it's easier to load things up top, especially when you have reinforced steel right here in this door sill to use as a step and reach up top. So better convenience there. Also, while we're looking up top here, in Mazda's first iteration of a panoramic roof, which we know, and most of you don't appreciate how it only opens to here, but at least you can see more of the sky and the outdoors, which the RAV4 Adventure TRD and the Outback Wilderness will not have a panoramic roof. So that's one more thing that the CX-50 gives you, even though it's not as functional as some of Toyota's panoramic roof offerings. Now let's talk about the power under the hood. So, of course, the Mazda has the 2.5 liter Turbo Meridian edition. This one has 256 horsepower with 320 foot-pounds of torque with premium fuel. And this is, the 2.5 liter Skyactiv G that all crossovers were using up until the CX-90. So 256 horsepower. The Subaru Outback Wilderness does have a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine with 260 horsepower, but the CX-50 does beat it with torque. And of course, the RAV4, which has put its more of its power into the hybrid portion, which we will be diving into next year for 24 with the CX-50. But its standard 2.5 liter is 203 horsepower, and of course, not close to the torque. So the CX-50 is very competitive, and in fact, with the torque a little bit better with the premium fuel. Even if you use regular fuel, it only steps back to 310 pound-feet of torque. Now, as we talk fuel economy, the CX-50 is rated at 23 city, 29 highway, 25 combined, and that compares to the RAV4, which on their naturally aspirated 2.5, they have 25 city, 32 highway, which is better, obviously. And the Subaru Outback Wilderness and their turbocharged gets 21 city, 26 highway. So the CX-50 is kind of right in between of both of those, but I think that you can appreciate the power and the fuel economy that's delivered with this powertrain. While we're finishing up the powertrain, of course, we'll talk about the 6-speed traditional automatic on this one, only bested by the 8-speed, which is why the fuel economy is a little bit better on the RAV4. They have an 8-speed automatic. Of course, the Subaru still sticks with their CVT, which is designed to simulate a traditional 6-speed, but it's not a traditional 6-speed or traditional automatic. So you can be the judge of that. The last thing to talk about here is the all-wheel drive. So we know that Subaru has been famed with their symmetrical all-wheel drive on every vehicle except for their BRZ Roadster. This one, of course, is standard with all-wheel drive, our iActive Sense all-wheel drive, that uses a bunch of sensors to predict the need for all-wheel drive, and it keeps some of the torque in reserve for the rear-wheel drive. All three of these models are front-wheel drive first, and the Adventure and the TRD are all-wheel drive for the RAV4, and they have their torque vectoring that will send torque front and back and left and right. Of course, on this vehicle, we have traction control for front and right, or for left and right, and then it's always sending more torque back and forth as necessary, up to a 50-50 torque split there as needed. And then the symmetrical all-wheel drive from Subaru, of course, has been very effective through the years, but all are capable. One thing that we'll mention is that these crossovers, of course, are not designed to be heavy off-road vehicles. So as this was designed, about 70% on-road, 30% off-road, but still capable. And that's something that Mazda is proud of. Also, I didn't mention the wheels before, but the 18-inch wheels here, the RAV4 Adventure has 19s, the TRD has 18s, and the Wilderness, Outback Wilderness, I believe also has 18s. So right in its wheelhouse with this offering here. The last thing that I think I must mention, because I know that you'll talk about it, even Mazda people talk about the rear end suspension here with the torsion beam. And I think I have some video here that may show a little bit of it, but if not, I will show you just a quick display of that. Of course, that is not independent because it's a torsion beam all the way across. Mazda says that that is a little bit more durable for that, that application off-road. However, this is the same platform that they're going to be using all the way up for even the next generation CX-5. We see this same platform on the Mazda 3 and the CX-30. The RAV4 Adventure, TRD, and the Subaru Wilderness both have independent rear suspensions, which may be better in an off-road application, but since 70% is on-road, this is actually a little bit lighter and a little bit less moving parts. So it could be more dependable through the life, or this would be less costly for repairs, but also with a lower weight could be some of the contributing factors to the fuel economy on this vehicle. Now let's take a quick peek inside again at some of the technology that you have with the CX-50. Of course, you'll notice that we open up and it's welcoming us with this big instrument cluster LCD here, which does fire up and has a digital speedometer, which is nice and coveted by most CX-5 owners. You also have this 10.25 inch screen here, which has wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, and in those applications it is touch. However, Mazda has chosen the Commander control knob, which is in an off-road situation, the knob or the touch screen would not be used as much if both hands were on the steering wheel. However, you can use muscle memory to control this instead of where to touch on the screen, and also keep your eyes on the road as you're coming up in different terrains or different heights of elements. So I think that overall would be a better opportunity there. Also, I love this kind of piano keys look here on this HVAC system. Of course, you have dual climate control, heated seats, and here you have, in this, you have 2 USBs, and you also have access for USBs in the back And then of course, here's a look back there. We still have that seat down, but you can see that even right here, you can have all the items or your pets right up here in between the seats to keep your friends close, and or your necessary cargo for whatever the case may be. Of course, push button start, advanced keyless entry, power windows and locks, all those things. One thing that you may not find on some of the other competitors is an automatic wipers. So the rain sensor up here. And of course we have automatic lights, which some of the other competitors will have as well. But I'm not sure that you'll find automatic wipers on the RAV4 Adventure and TRD. So that's something to not have to worry about as the terrains change and maybe the fog rolls in, or you get some afternoon showers or thunderstorms, as we often see in South Alabama. I am going to crank this up real quick just so we can see the look of the panoramic roof here. By the way, if you buckle your seatbelt before you crank it, you won't hear those chimes. So we can take more of the outside coming in from this panoramic roof, and just to show you how far it does open for those that are unaware or considering this vehicle. So you can see that it's about 6 inches open, which still gives you that good open feeling, but also not much access to get out here. I think that wraps it up for our conversation on this Turbo Meridian Edition CX-50. If you have any questions or comments on this vehicle or anything to add on the RAV4 or the Subaru, go ahead and drop them down below in the comments so we can talk about them. And if I misspoke on anything, be sure to correct me, because I want to be as accurate as possible. If you have any other questions on any Mazda or anything we've discussed, you can text me at 334-718-0504. And I really can't wait to see you in my choice, the Mazda CX-50, because it's a beautiful Mazda.